Hello, Wagwan. Welcome to Design to Win, episode 10. I'm your host, C. Ruth Taylor, and this is the show where we give you the roadmap to win at life with a little Caribbean flavor. Coming up in today's show is an interview with author Erraldo Budhan, and he's going to be talking to us about overcoming procrastination and how we can power up to impact lives forever. So I want you to stay tuned. Erraldo L. Budhan is a young radio broadcaster with the National Religious Media Commission in Jamaica, Love 101 FM. He's also a guidance counselor by training and an adjunct lecturer at New Covenant Bible Institute. He holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in theology with a minor in guidance and counseling from Jamaica Theological Seminary, my alma mater, and a diploma in Christian leadership from New Covenant Bible Institution. He is a budding theologian with a deep passion for theology, especially in the areas of Old and New Testament and apologetics. He's a young, charismatic, gifted young man whom I admire so much, and it is such a privilege to have him on Design to Win. Erraldo, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ruth. I must say, Kamika. So good to be here.
Yes, it's good to have you. So before we get into overcoming procrastination and how we can power up, tell me, what's your favorite thing about Jamaica?
My favorite thing about Jamaica is the scenery. I would travel the island just to see the beautiful ocean and the wonderful landscaping.
Okay, so the scenery. Okay, you're an outdoor kind of person.
Kind of.
Okay, so we want to talk about your amazing feat. You are a young person. I'm sure you're not even close to 30 yet, and you have published 2 books in a little over a year. Power Up Volume 1 in June 2019, and Power Up Volume 2, you recently published Volume 2.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about your author journey and what that has been like for you?
It has been interesting. I never knew, I wasn't aware, or let me just say, I never knew that I would have written 2 books. I never know that I had what it take, or what the idea of being an author has always been there, but I never know that I would have developed the passion to write 2 books and publish them in little over a year. It has been a journey where there are times when I'm wondering if what I'm writing actually makes sense, and if what I'm writing would reach the population that I'm writing to. It has been an interesting journey. I realized that after writing Power Up 1, that I have a passion for sharing information, not just via radio, but even via book. And so I have set out a task I'm not as great as you, Kamika, to write multiple books in 1 year, but you are an example, and I would want to say a role model in this thing of authorpreneurship. I think that's the nice pronunciation you use, right? The nice word that we use, authorpreneurship.
Yes, authorpreneurship.
And it has been a journey. I'm not saying that I've wanted to stop. At any point in time, I never wanted to stop. I always wanted to continue. I've always been thinking about new books to write, new things to put on paper, and how to do it, and how to learn to format a book myself, and realizing, you know this, Kamika, that's something that I should not go into at this time, because time will not allow me to do that, to do formatting. But the journey of being an author has been an interesting one. It has been an interesting one, especially after selling books, and persons would have come to me and say, boy, you know, say, chapter 8 touched my heart, and chapter 7 was what I was going through, and I realized that I was not just writing for writing's sake, but I was writing with the aim of helping people. So my journey has been very interesting, and I can't wait to be publishing the third book and the fourth book and the fifth book as the Lord wills it.
Okay, that is so good to know. What I appreciate is the simplicity of your book. It's simple, but it's powerful. Sometimes all you need is one word of encouragement that shifts your perspective and puts you in a better place, in an empowered place. And especially in Power Up 2, I wrote you and I said, chapter 25, day 25 is lit because it's 30 days to be of encouragement to build your faith, hope, and trust in God. And I know COVID-19 has affected many persons adversely, and we feel as if it has stolen our lives for some of us. And when I read chapter 25, day 25, go get your life back, it was such a blessing to me. And the good thing about your book is that it has sections for reflection.
Yes.
And so I have been using it to rewrite the vision and make it plain and go get my life back. So I am very happy that you wrote this book of encouragement, and your target audience is young people, right?
Yes. Youth and young adults.
Right. And I'm seeing here some of their reviews in the book, and I see that they're really looking forward to reading it. Talk to us a bit about procrastination and writing. You said that you struggled with procrastination. How did you overcome that to actually write? Because there are many persons who want to write a book. A study was done in the US, and it was said that 81% of persons feel like they have a book in them, but less than 1% write. And I meet persons from time to time, I want to write a book. And it's 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and the book has not been written yet. So how did you overcome procrastination to actually write your book?
Very interesting question. And I think I'm still overcoming procrastination. I'm actually writing a third book, and the third book is called Overcoming, and a chapter in that is all about procrastination. For me, I had to identify first, to literally know when I'm procrastinating. And I found out when I'm procrastinating is when I'm putting off things, things that I could have done. I'm saying, boy, I can't do that tomorrow. And that was in writing the book. I said, boy, I can write chapter 1 tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And then when tomorrow at 1 o'clock come, I said, well, I have a little more time. I can probably write it at 5. And I realized that wasn't helping. I was pushing the time back until it was getting close to, boy, my deadline was 1 month in writing all these chapters, and I've pushed them back. So I had to identify when I'm procrastinating, and then I have to find out, why am I procrastinating? Am I procrastinating because I can't think of the ideas? Am I procrastinating because I'm not putting enough into this? And after finding out why I'm not procrastinating, I started making a timetable of how I'm going to do it, how I'm going to write the chapters, when in the day would be the best time for me to not be distracted. And then that's when I start put strategies in place to stop the procrastination. So I found out that I am procrastinating because every time I've reached in the middle of the day to write the book, I realize that I'm putting it off. So I found out that I'm putting it off because there are other things that I want to do. I want to watch a series. So I realized that I work best at night. So I created a strategy. Every day for 1 hour in the night from about 11 to 12 o'clock, I am going to write. I'm going to write a chapter. I'm going to write until the hour is up. And some of the time I realize that I write past the hour because my brain is just running and the thoughts are just coming and are flooding. It's still a method, or let me say, it's still something I'm working on. I don't think that I have overcome per se, but I am overcoming. because even writing the third book that is not published as yet, Kamika, and I was talking about procrastination in it, I made it clear that I have to stick by the strategies that I would have put out, the strategies that I would have created. So to get the power of 1 and 2, to be honest with you, I had to create alarms on my phone, plug out my TV, plug out everything that needs to be plugged out, and just sit around my computer and just type and get a accountability partner who would call me and say, have you written this amount of words? Have you written this amount of chapters? Have you written this amount of pages? And that's how I would have actually completed Power Up within 1 month, because I believe I started Power Up last year, January. I started January and I completed that while I was on a mission trip to St. Kitts. By the time I was coming back from St. Kitts, I would have completed writing the book itself, both 1 and 2, in 1 month. And it was shocking to me. But it took me some months to even start writing the third book. I guess I got complacent.
No, that is awesome. You have dropped some master keys on us that I believe are essential for persons who are struggling to write and just struggling with procrastination. So what I heard you say is that, one, you identified the problem, or you admitted that this is a challenge that I am facing.
Yes.
And then you start to discover what is causing it. So what's the underlying cause? You were determined to write the book, so you eliminated distraction, and that is huge. Right now, I have my group on their 30-day writing challenge to write their first nonfiction book in 30 days, and many of them are doing it. And you did it in a month, and that is really fantastic. The other key that you shared is getting that accountability partner. And I find that this is so helpful. Not only that, you created your strategy. You were so self-aware that you were able to say, this time of day is not good for me.
Yes.
Let me write at X time. And you also use a timer. You set alarm. So you were determined to get the task done, and you put the measures in place to get it done. And so I want to encourage persons, if you are struggling to get the task done, admit it, and then work out the strategies. For writing, I believe some of the strategies that Erraldo has shared, that they are applicable regardless of the phase that you are in. So I am so glad when I hear others share those keys, because I have done it so often. Sometimes because you're farther along on the journey, persons don't, sometimes they think, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But if you can do it, and the methods that helped you, I'm sure they will help others. So talk to us about Power Up. What does Power Up mean? And how can we power up for 2021 so that we can impact lives forever and still maintain our hope and trust in God despite the global pandemic and the fallout from this? Talk to us. What is Power Up? What is that, and how can we power up for 2021 and maintain our faith, hope, and trust in God despite the challenges?
Interestingly, before the name of the book Power Up came out, we had other names, and I think you remember those.
Yes, I do.
And Power Up stood out of all the names because it was aimed at. There are times when persons would have feel cast down. There are times when persons would have felt low, and so Power Up is all about building your strength, and that's why we say Power Up: faith, hope, and trust. Building your strength in God, building your faith, your hope, and trust in God. Power up is all about moving from one level to the next. It is never about decreasing, but it's always about increasing on your spirituality, increasing on your strengths in Christianity, increasing even on your emotional state. And so when we think about power up, we're thinking about the idea, Kamika, I don't know if you watch anime, but the idea of Dragon Ball Z,
Yes,
and
yes, I'm
how,
familiar.
yeah, and how they would,
Goku.
before they go into a battle, they would have to charge up, they would have to power up before they go into a battle. That was all about that's the idea behind power up. It's helping you to charge yourself to take on the task ahead of you. And if our listeners watch anime again, then it would be like Naruto. You have to build your chakra in order for you to take on certain things. And so I see Power Up as that tool, that manual, that guide to help build you to take on the task ahead. And as we're stepping into 2021, my idea or how to power up for 2021 actually comes from chapter 8 or day 8 in Power Up 2 that says, think positively. We are surrounded by so many things now, coronavirus, and recently I believe dengue is on the rise again,
Mm-hmm.
and so many things happening, and that can dampen how we look at the future. But for anyone in Christ, you have to understand that the future is in God's hand. And so we have to think positively. We may not know what the future holds, but it's not our responsibility, it's not our duty to know what the future holds. It's our duty to know who holds the future. And God holds the future, so we have to think positively. The mind is very powerful, it's a very powerful thing, and this is where our creativity begins. And so for those of us who are impulsive, everything we do, we first think long and hard about it, and we have to apply the steps involved in the decision making process to explore the possible outcomes of certain actions. We have to think things through. And so for 2021, think positive. Don't let 2020 be your marker as to, boy, I don't know how 2021 gonna look, because 2020 just look crazy and chaotic. Think positively. My scripture that I anchor on almost every day is Romans 8 verse 28. All things work together for good. So even when things are going haywire around me, things are just not working out, or things are not looking good, I still believe that all things are working good. So I still have a positive mindset or a positive outset on life. And so my encouragement for persons going into 2020 is think big and think positive. Think big and think positive, and just live your life like it's the last. Never live in doubt, but live in positivity and hope.
Ah, I'm glad you put it like that, because it is the mind, and very often it is our perspective. For example, you can be in a prison but still feel free because of your thinking. And if we think positively, we know that that will change how we deal with the situations. We may not be able to change the circumstances around us, but we can change how we respond. I think it might be Chuck Colson that said life is 90% what is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond. And I believe day one in Power Up is what we're going to need for the remainder of 2020 and 2021, when that time comes, is to trust God as our keeper.
Yes.
Trust God as our keeper. As the song says, because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, all fear is gone. Because I know who holds the future, then my life is worth while living. because he lives. So I really want to thank you. I have been especially blessed by this book. I know we haven't launched Power Up 2 as yet. And come the end of the month, I think around the 28th of the month, we're going to have a Kindle giveaway. So I'm going to ask our listeners to stay tuned, and you can Google the book Power Up. It's on Amazon, and you can go there and get the book. If our listeners want to get in touch with you, Erraldo, how can we get in touch with you?
Well, currently they can send me an email at erraldo.budhan20@gmail.com, and the spelling is ERRALDO.BUD, B as in boy, BUDHAN 20@gmail.com. And my number would my number work?
No,
But my
just the
email at this
email.
my email at the time, because I'm already being
Okay, the email is
overwhelmed.
sufficient. And as I
And
said,
also on Instagram at mighty_Raldo on Instagram. You can always reach me there.
right. So we want to encourage persons to, if you want to be powered up for 2020 and the new year ahead, to build your faith, hope, and trust, we want to encourage you to get the book Power Up. I want to thank you, Erraldo, for coming to share. Any last words as it relates to writing or procrastinating or powering up as we close out the show?
My thing is, as it relates to writing, just write. I've learned it from the great writer herself, Kamika Ruth Taylor. Just write. You can make the correction afterwards. The idea is in your head. Just write it down. Write. And in day 30 of Power Up 2, I said, take the limits off. There are some limits that would have placed on our lives, and some limits that would have placed on God as well. Take the limits off and just do what you can do, because greatness is in you. And if you have an idea, and if you want to write a book, and if you just write, go ahead and write it. And if you want to take on a task that you believe that is something you love, go ahead and do it. Don't let nothing stop you or hinder you. Just do it. I always say this, Kamika, it's best to do it. And so, boy, I waste my time rather than not doing it. And so, boy, you know, some regret not doing it. I rather to have done something and feel comfortable knowing I've done it, rather than not to do it and be in a state of regret. So write if you have to write, and just take the limits off and be great.
Thank you. That's a fitting point to end. And I want to give a master key in the form of a quote as we close out the show. He who has health has hope, and he who has hope has everything. That's an Arabian proverb. And so I want to ask you to do what we do every week, to put your hand over your heart and let's say our pledge to win. There's greatness in me. It's possible to live my dreams. No matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it with faith, courage, and consistent action. I'm going to make it. It's not over until I win. This is Ruth Taylor saying, ta for now, until next time.